Well, Joe Rogan fought back, and now he owns Sanjay Gupta and CNN. Joe Rogan became the object of a Twitter firestorm and a mainstream media onslaught attack, especially from CNN, when it was revealed that Joe Rogan had coronavirus and he didn't go to the hospital and submit himself to respirator therapy and vaccination. Instead, he treated himself with ivermectin that he got from a doctor's prescription. And immediately, because he broke from the narrative, he basically did what President Donald Trump did. Remember when Donald Trump had coronavirus and he went to the hospital? He was there like 2 days, and there were all these pictures coming out of him. He had a room set up at the hospital where he was still doing the work of the presidency, and he basically, with a series of antibiotics as well as hydroxychloroquine. 2 days later, he walked out of the hospital feeling great. He was unmasked, and the media's heads exploded. Because it's so much better for us to have this feeble, drooling on himself, always wearing a mask, and can't put two sentences together image that we get continually from Joe Biden. Yes, that is certainly much more inspiring to the American people than a leader who is strong, who is confident, and obviously in command of his mental faculties and in command of what to do in crisis, because the crises spinning around Joe Biden right now are unbelievable, right down to he can't even get you Christmas on time this year. That all said, Joe Rogan was not going to roll over and play dead. Joe Rogan was not going to play the narrative game. Right now, Dr. Fauci and the powers that be, they have only one official play. And that is get the jab, get the jab, get the jab, and then get the booster. Get it. Ask no questions, just do it. Okay, that said, I have said there was never any talk before even the vaccine was available for people to take. There was never any talk from Dr. Fauci or any of the so-called talking head medical people that were supposed to be advising the American people during a pandemic. There was never any mention of what we could do in the meantime other than wearing masks, staying 200 feet away from each other, and not leaving our houses and not getting together with family. And if you're going to do a birthday party, put your kid on a lawn chair on the front lawn and let people drive by and wave to him. This was the insanity. This was the asinine stupidity these so-called experts came up with as a way for us to live the new normal. It was all hogwash. It was all meant to defeat the morale of the American people so they would not vote for Donald Trump. That is really what so much of that was about. But from the medical people and the Dr. Fauci's that were out there, there was never any talk of what you could do to actually boost your immune system, to take good care of it. Vitamin C, vitamin D3. I'm taking a little bit more of that now as the seasons are changing and the days are getting shorter and there's less and less sunlight available to us. I'm upping the vitamin D. It is a natural immune builder and it fights viruses. Vitamin D is a good thing. That said, Joe Rogan just was not going to, quote, buy into the narrative. And when he took the ivermectin, which won a Nobel Prize as a breakthrough medication, he was excoriated that he took horse medicine. Now, have there people taken medication that was designed for animals and had horrible issues, including death as a result thereof? Yes. Nobody asked the other question. Well, why did they do that?
Well, Donald Trump didn't talk about eating bleach and hydroxychloroquine.
Which has been proven to work, but because Orange Man said it, obviously it must be bad. Because the whole reason Anthony Fauci got launched into rock star status was because he opposed Donald Trump on things. And the media loved that. And so that made Fauci a rock star, and I'm not going to get into all that again. Lots of videos on that here. Ivermectin was created for human beings. Is there a veterinary dose for it? Well, certainly. There's a veterinary dose for penicillin. There's a veterinary dose for Benadryl. I have a dog. He was on a veterinary dose of Benadryl for an allergic reaction that he had to something. So if I now take Benadryl myself, am I taking dog medicine? This is so, and it's such an obvious attack. And to come from a news agency to just outright distort the fact, well, Joe Rogan wasn't having it. And he had Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who is supposed to be the, number one medical expert at CNN, the most trusted name in news. Yeah, I think I'd rather take advice from Dr. Pepper or Dr. Scholes than these guys. And Joe Rogan went after him and owned him. Now we're going to show you 3 clips. They're long. I know you've seen like the 30-second sound bites on other places. Now these are clips. These are long. These are full content because this was 3 hours that Sanjay sat there and he and Joe Rogan went back and forth. And of course, CNN isn't going to play any of those clips. They're just going to let Sanjay basically now take I won that. No, he got eviscerated. Clip number 1, we're going to take a look at now. Joe Rogan saying, your network lied. You lied about me. You lied about the medication. You lied. And Sanjay said, yeah.
So for you, Joe Rogan.
Yes.
I would say you've had it.
Yes.
So now get one shot of the vaccine.
No.
Why not?
Because I have better immunity than I would if I was vaccinated. Right?
Yes.
Don't I?
I think your immunity is really good.
So why, if I've already gotten through COVID and I was really only sick for a day, and then 5 days later I was negative, and I do have the natural antibodies now, why would I take a chance in getting vaccinated on top of that?
By the way, I'm glad you're better. I'm glad it only lasted a day.
You're probably the only one at CNN that's glad.
No. We're not.
The rest of them are all lying about me taking horse medication. And we should talk about that.
That bothered you.
It should bother you too. They're lying at your network about people taking human drugs versus drugs from veterinary.
Calling it a horse dewormer is not a flattering thing. I get that.
It's a lie. It's a lie on a news network, and it's a lie that's a willing. That's a lie that they're conscious of. It's not a mistake.
Yeah.
They're unfavorably framing it as veterinary medicine.
Well, the FDA put this thing out. You saw that. Did you see that thing that the FDA put out?
What did the FDA put out?
It was a tweet, and it was snarky. I admit it. They said, you are not a horse, you are not a cow, stop taking this stuff, or something like that.
Why would you say that when you're talking about a drug that's been given out to billions and billions of people, a drug that was responsible for one of the inventors of it making
Nobel Prize.
The Nobel Prize in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, a drug that has been shown to stop viral replication in vitro. You know that, right? Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer? I can afford people medicine. This is ridiculous. It's just a lie.
I don't think anyone is.
But don't you think that a lie like that is dangerous on a news network when you know that they know they're lying? You know that they know that I took medicine. Like, this is ivermectin.
You got
this
it with
right
you.
Here. Somebody gave it to me.
All right, hang on. The thing is, we're like going so fast. Like I feel like I'm missing.
Do you think that's a problem? That your news network lies?
Well, I don't.
Dude.
What did they say?
They lied
and
said I was taking horse dewormer. First of all, it was prescribed to me by a doctor.
Yeah.
Along
they
with
shouldn't have said
a
it was
bunch
horse.
of other medications.
If you got a human pill, because there were people that were taking it, the veterinary medication, and you're not, obviously. You got it from a doctor, so that it shouldn't be called that. Ivermectin can be a very effective medication for parasitic disease, and as you say, it's probably, I think a 250 million people have taken it around the world.
More,
I get that.
Way more.
So
way more. Billions of people have taken it.
Can I just come back to the one I want to talk about? Two things on
you
the
have
ledger.
You have, before we get to that, does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied? Just outright lied.
Oh, good stuff. Then Joe Rogan went straight after him about, hey, boosters? Really? Boosters? So this is, we want to have this debate. And by the way, this is incredible that this debate has been allowed to be out there because, unless you're really going to regurgitate the talking points, this stuff tends to just disappear down wormholes. But this is what we need. This honest back and forth. And it was good. It was respectful between the two of them, but it was no doubt, you can tell, Joe Rogan's fighting experience really helped because he had Gupta on the ropes the whole time. I mean, it was not pretty, but it was respectful, and it was lots of information both ways. Gupta made his points about the importance of vaccination, and Joe Rogan made his points, and it gave the American people information and then the freedom to make the decision best suited for them. Shazam, Batman. We might call that liberty. So boosters and Joe Rogan said, wait a minute, this is just never going to stop. And so he and Gupta got into that.
Not do, you're right, across the board recommendation for everyone to get boosters. They don't think the data is there to sort of support that yet. They think the vaccines do work pretty well for people who aren't vulnerable for these reasons.
And then the two people resigned.
Because I think
they felt that they were being pressured to. Why did they resign? They resigned over the boosters, correct?
I think you can safely say that.
That seems like a strange situation,
what happened
right?
was,
in the middle of a pandemic for someone who's...
It's not good.
Not good. So what was your assessment of that?
I tell you, what I think, and this was a problem. This is a problem. First we heard of boosters was from who? It was from the White House, right? We should be hearing about these things first from FDA or CDC. Yeah, the scientists. We heard of boosters was from who? It was from the White House, right? We should be hearing about these things first from FDA or CDC. Yeah, scientists. And I think that there was this concern that the White House was sort of getting out ahead of things and making it seem like this was preordained, which I agree, because they not only did they say boosters are going to be necessary for everybody, they said starting September 20th. They put a date on it.
Right.
They came back and they said, hey, look, what we really meant was that we think boosters are going to be necessary because we're seeing what's happening in Israel. We're seeing what's happening in the UK. We want to be ready. We want to make sure pharmacies have boosters and we don't go through the whole thing when vaccines first rolled out where people couldn't get them. That's not how they approached it. And I think the FDA, at least a couple of people who are very senior people within the vaccine office, basically said, we feel pressured. And that's not how we should be conducting science policy.
This last segment, I think, is actually my favorite because he really gets into the gain of function, the Fauci connection, and why isn't the media being honest about this? And at first, Sanjay kind of pushes back, and then again, he gets rope-a-dope by Joe.
And there was a letter that came out from Peter Daszak in February of last year that he wrote in The Lancet, along with a bunch of other people, saying this thing, this is ridiculous to suggest that this had somehow been bioengineered at a lab.
Meanwhile, the internal emails suggested that he had very different concerns.
That's worrisome. And I said that to Peter. I said, Peter, this is not making sense.
And what did he say?
He said, hey, there's no evidence that the virus ever existed in this lab. There's no evidence that it leaked out of the lab.
That's because they destroyed a lot of evidence.
This is concerning.
They deleted how much evidence did they delete in 2019? Some stunning amount.
Well, the entire database went down.
Exactly.
Now, I said I said to him, you were a part of the WHO investigation. Did you see the database? Now, it's been over a year later. He said, no. And I said, is that not of concern to you? He said, look, he goes, it was a public database. They were worried about hacking, and so that's why they took it down. I said, if it was a public database, why were they worried about hacking? What were they trying to hide? So I don't know, Joe, what to make of it. There's clearly, as you said earlier, I think you said where there's smoke, there's fire.
You see Fauci being grilled by Rand Paul, and he denies that they were doing gain-of-function research. What are your thoughts on that? Because by any definition, that was gain-of-function research, right? Gain-of-function research is taking a virus. We should probably Google the exact definition, but what my impression is that gain-of-function means you are imparting new ability to this virus to infect humans, right? The idea is that you're juicing it up and making it more contagious.
That's right. And that type of research has been done, and in fact, I think it was
done,
in 2015. Right? I think in the Netherlands somewhere.
But if the NIH was giving funding to EcoHealth Alliance, the EcoHealth Alliance was funding that kind of research.
I think
and
that
then Fauci is not being honest about that.
I think the NIH is clearly funding EcoHealth Alliance, and EcoHealth Alliance is clearly giving grants to Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Were they doing experiments to make viruses more contagious to people? The answer would be yes.
Yeah, were they doing experiments that could lead to viruses being more contagious? Yes.
Yes.
I think that's right.
Oh, baby! This was good stuff. Hey, what can I say? Joe Rogan, you owned him. We've got Rumble-only content that you need to check out through the link below. Wondering why we're having this supply chain crisis right now? I'll give you one name. Pete Buttigieg. Want to know what it's about? You got to check it out at the link below. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, smack the bell, click the word all, get notification of my next rant, and don't forget to check out the other channel. Good stuff there.